Salutations, everyone, and welcome to What Mattered, the show where I tell you not what happened this week, but only what mattered. That being said, if this channel gets 50 million subscribers, I will delete it. Straight up. That's not an empty threat. So, definitely the biggest news this week came out of PSX. And there's no way we're not going to talk about it. The Last of Us Part 2. Fuck, dude! Okay, this was the biggest news that we could have ever hoped for coming out of Sony's big press event. The trailer was amazing, easily the greatest visual cinematic in video game history thus far. That was it, just from a visual perspective. So we got to see Ellie. Joel's still there. I don't know how far into the in time this is. Is 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 6 years? Who really knows? But we have Joel and Ellie returning. Ellie is on a rampage. Naughty Dog says this is a game about hate. So somebody pissed Ellie off and she's getting revenge and straight up gutting these motherfuckers like a fish. And it looks awesome. The tone is dark and it's so nice. Who knows what how we're going to play this game story-wise? Is it going to be Joel and Ellie, or are we controlling both outside of that small portion, The Last of Us 1? We didn't get to play Ellie that much. Are we going to be playing just Ellie, or is it going to be like a mixture? People are speculating about Joel and how if he's going to die and what that would do to the story. If you haven't played The Last of Us, do yourself a favor. If you have a PS3, PS4, go play it right now. One of the most interesting and unique narratives from a video game told in a perfect way that only Naughty Dog can do. Naughty Dog they do no wrong when it comes to their story and their graphics and their gameplay. It also had a fantastic multiplayer, and I assume we can expect more of that as well in The Last of Us Part 2. But it's the story and the narrative that got people hooked in the first game. And the suspense, not just another zombie game. And here, we didn't even see any zombies. She was killing people, man. So, good on ya, Ellie. She's all tatted up, new hairdo, looks amazing. So, yeah, that's boom, right up there on most anticipated games for 2017. Easily, if it does come out in 2017. We don't know. But we're all looking forward to the second it comes out, because damn. The other big reveal coming out of PSX was a new Uncharted game, which I don't think many of us were anticipating, considering Uncharted 4 just came out. But it has the returning fan favorite characters Chloe and Nadine from Uncharted 3 and Uncharted 4 respectively. I've read that this is supposed to take place after Uncharted 4, so that's very interesting to see what Chloe's been up to, how she gets mixed up with Nadine. That's really interesting. So we have those fantastic characters back in India. Don't know what's going down, but it's a standalone chapter. You'll be able to buy it digitally or physically. We don't know what the pricing point yet is on it. If you already bought two of the more premium Uncharted 4 editions, you will be getting this for free. So some people are calling it DLC, even though you can buy it by itself. It's a standalone chapter, but the biggest additional content that Naughty Dog has made for an Uncharted game thus far. I'm excited, looks great, can't wait. On Jimmy Fallon this week, we got a look at Super Mario Run, as well as a hands-on demonstration with the Nintendo Switch, where he was able to use it with the pad, and we got to see Reggie Fils-Aimé play a little bit of the game as well. Nothing like new content-wise for Zelda, but we get to see a better look at the console itself and the controller. Now, gaming has kind of been a bit of a gag on late night shows, if you've seen any of the Conan O'Brien segments, where it's just something for the layman people to laugh at because of how weird or difficult or eccentric some of these things are with YouTube personalities or game devs that he has on there. But Jimmy Fallon was like a legit fan. I don't know, I don't watch the show, I don't find him of himself entertaining, but he knew his shit, he knew everything about the game, he knew everything about the Switch. he is a fan, so it was nice to see somebody who knew what they were talking about and was excited about this new video game platform to actually be able to get his hands on it. So that was pretty neat. So props to Jimmy for that. And we get to see a little bit more about how the Joy-Con controllers slide off, as well as some of the ports on there. We do know that thing on top is a vent. On the bottom, we got to see what might have been a USB-C port or a Nintendo proprietary port that both charges the screen portion as well as docking it in. It would make sense if it was USB-C because it'd be able to switch from an HDMI conversion as well as charging at the same time. And they don't have to, make something new for that, but we do not know as of yet for that. But this is the first time we've got to see, a non-Nintendo employee get to handle this thing. And of course, we're gonna have to wait until January to learn more about the Switch. Also at PSX, we did get to see the new Marvel vs. Capcom game, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. So, we got Marvel characters, we have Capcom characters. It's now 2v2, and they made that change because they felt that the 3v3, the third additional character, was kind of an ancillary role, to mix in there as support and didn't really hold as much weight in the competitive scene. So to change that and replace that, they've made it 2v2 and added Infinity Stones from the Marvel Universe, which we know takes a huge impact in the cinematic world. So you'll be able to pick two characters as well as a kind of Infinity Stone, and these Infinity Stone will apply a change to your entire team. We get to see different things that you can do with the Power Stone and the Time Stone. We don't know the exact changes that they do make, but they say this is what will dictate the meta. The Power Stone or the Infinity Stone that you choose and how that works with your characters, it will either make their a certain weakness not so weak, it will make their strengths some stronger, or add a different utility to the character altogether. So that's very, very interesting to see. We don't know the entire roster as of yet, but it looks great. It's nice to see the changes being made that have the competitive in mind, but they also say that they're trying to make it a little bit more streamlined for more people to, gain entry into it. And they feel like 2v2 is a better way to do that because it seems a little less daunting to have to deal with the synergy of, your support system, characters flying in and out. So good on them, thinking about everybody, but pushing the game forward as a whole. Will Ferrell is going to be doing an esports movie where he himself is going to be playing an esports player. As you would guess, he is way too old to be an esports player, and that's kind of how the narrative starts. And, being so old, everyone else is, teens or 20s, where, most of your competitive players in the esports world will be retiring in their 20s because they're slow with their hand-eye coordination. So we kind of see the end of his esports career. Obviously, it's a comedy. They're trying to look to make it this a little bit authentic. I would assume with actual esports games, like Dota or League of Legends in the game, and they also are in talks with a couple different esports teams to make appearances in the movie, which would make perfect sense. So kind of think of it as like Talladega Nights, but with video games. Now, typically video game culture is a rife subject for ridicule when it comes to the mainstream media on television or in TV shows and news, but the Dota Championship was $20 million prize pool and pulled in more viewers than the NBA Finals and the World Series. So there's definitely a huge market for it. Maybe not the biggest market is in the United States. It's more of a global thing, but it still is very big in the States, and it's only going to get bigger as well as in, Western Europe as well. So there's definitely a few different ways that they can approach this subject material to pay respect to the actual industry, as well as make it funny because, hey, it's Will Ferrell. We know he can make some really good movies. He can make some not so great movies, but that's mostly up to the story and the writing. So this could be really good. And hey, if it's just as good as Talladega Nights, I don't think anybody's going to care what jokes he makes about esports players because it's gonna be fucking good. Blizzard has officially confirmed that the Overwatch Christmas event will be starting on December 13th. Through some data mining, we've been able to find out what kind of additions we'll be seeing to this game. possibly up to 4 new maps, with one of them being Christmas or at least winter themed. We know that these characters will be getting either a highlight intro, a skin, or an emote, and these characters will be getting 2 out of the 3, and your boy Torbjorn will be getting all 3. Looks like he might be getting multiple skins, so the rumor, an obvious choice for a Santa Claus skin, is going to be Torbjorn. He's going to be Santa Bjorn, and Winston and May are going to finally get a seasonal skin, which are the only 2 characters that haven't gotten. So thus far, and May is an obvious candidate for a Christmas skin because she's freaking snow themed. So yeah, Pokemon Go has had quite a week. First of all, we have Charmander from Build-A-Bear Workshop, which is great. He's got a hoodie and all that good stuff. Starbucks has had their promotional crossover with Niantic. They have their Pokemon Frappuccino, and all Starbucks locations are now Pokestops or gyms. We know that Sprint is getting a very similar deal. We have no date on when that is going to make that transition change, but we do have confirmation that this coming Monday, Niantic will announce their first new additions of Pokemon to Pokemon Go. We don't know if this means the legendary birds along with Mew and Mewtwo. We don't know if this means Gen 2, which we know are in the game's files. We've seen the sound files, and we've seen some new things, 100 new Pokemon coming from, the Silver and Gold generation. We've also seen some data for Shinies. So that's been in the game for a while, so we don't know if they're going to implement that with Gen 2, which is where the Shinies came from. I don't know how they're going to implement that as far as rarity goes. Are they going to keep it to, was it the 497 or something like that from the game, or is it going to be a little more common? I think having Shinies be 100% IV Pokemon would be kind of cool, because then you'd be able to identify those kind of Pokemon right off the bat from their appearance. That would be pretty sweet. We've also seen future updates that might be pertaining to in-game purchases for your avatar customization, as well as like costumes for your Pokemon. So that makes perfect sense. That's one of the things that I actually thought that they should do. So that's more customizations, more pay avenues for Niantic to get some money getting in there as well. But it could be legendaries, or with a tie-in for Sun and Moon, they could just be Alolan forms of the Gen 1 Pokemon. That's definitely something they can do. Stick with Generation 1, but still give us new Pokemon with the Alolan forms of, Sandshrew and Vulpix and Raichu and Grimer and Muck and Meowth and Marowak. That would be better than nothing, but I think we all want Gen 2, or at the very least legendaries, with the possibility of raids that they alluded to in the very first commercials for Pokemon Go. And we have official confirmation and date for Attack on Titan Season 2. It will be coming out simulcasted through Funimation starting in April of next year. After being delayed over 2 years, it's finally great to see Season 2 from this super hype and super well-loved anime that's only had the 1 season. Funimation did the dub as well as the junior high school dub, so we don't know if this simulcast is going to have an English dub along with it. I would assume, as per regular happenstance, that an English dub would come further along in the timeline, but most of us, when the first anime came out, was only dubbed, and that's kind of where most people fell in love with it, so it would make sense that most people would want to watch the dub for Season 2. So we don't have that much longer to wait to see what happens with this story that's seriously just getting started. Any Hooting the Blowfish, that was what mattered this week. If you want to know what matters in the future, hit the subscribe button when these videos comes out every single Saturday. Hope you all enjoyed. Leave your comments below about anything that I mentioned or didn't mention that happened this week in the comment section below, and I'll see you all next time.